Today is Yom Hazikaron. Today we commemorate the fallen soldiers and the victims of terror of Israel. Today we stand united as the Jewish nation to honor our brothers and sisters who have fought for the existence of our country, of our national home.
Every year on this day, ceremonies are held worldwide in order to remember and to honor those who have fallen in the wars, in the battles for the sake of Israel, and those who were killed in the terror attacks upon the country.
במותם ציו לנו את החיים. In their death, they ordered us to live.
Today, Remembrance Day. The number of Israel's casualties of war stand at 23,816 since last Memorial Day. 75 new names were added to the roster of those who died defending the country. Of these, 42 deaths were members of the Defense Forces, with another 33 disabled persons dying as a result of injury in defense services.
היום, יום רביעי, ב' באייר, יום הזיכרון לחללי מערכות ישראל ונפגעי פעולות האיבה. ביום זה אנו מתייחדים עם הנופלים אשר חירפו נפשם למען הארץ.
Today, 73 years after the declaration of the State of Israel, the battle continues, and sadly, both soldiers and citizens continue to die.
גם היום, 73 שנים מאז הקמתה של מדינת ישראל, המאבק נמשך, ועדיין, לרוע מזלנו, נהרגים חיילים ואזרחים.
On Yom Hazikaron, the entire nation remembers its dead and expresses eternal gratitude to its sons and daughters and honors those who gave their lives for the achievement of this country's independence and its continued existence.
In Israel, a loud siren is played twice on Yom Hazikaron. Everybody stops whatever they are doing and stands silently in memory of those who are no longer with us. After that, we will lower the flag. Please rise.
הורדת הדגל ותציית הורן הקהל מתבקש לעמוד.
Now it is time for Cantor Green reciting the Yizkor and reading El Melech HaChaim in Hebrew. Dr. Mitzmacher will follow by reading El Melech HaChaim in English. Please rise.
El malei rachamim shochein bamromim hametzei menucha nechona al kanfei hashechinah במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמות כל אנשי החיים אשר הרו נפשם למות בעד עצמם על קידוש השם באכזריות נורות תחת ממשלת הזדון וית נשמות תפארת בנינו ובנותינו אשר חרפו נפשם למות מות גיבורים בעלותם על מזבח תקומת ישראל בארץ קודשו וכל נפגעי מלחמה וטרור בארץ ובעולם שהלכו לעולמם יזכרם אלוהים לטובה עם רבבות אלפי קדושי ישראל וגיבוריו מימי עולם יצרור החיים יצרור את נשמתם בגני חנוך ובשלום על משכבם ונאמר
The nation of Israel, remember its sons and daughters, faithful and courageous, the soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces, and all members of the undergrounds and brigades, the warriors in the battles at sea, members of the intelligence community, security personnel, policemen, and those in the prison service, who gave up their lives in war to ensure the existence of Israel, and all of whom that were killed within Israel and outside of Israel at the hands of murderers and terrorists. May the nation of Israel and the Exalted One remember the radiance of their youthfulness, the delightfulness, heroism, purity of their will, and the selflessness of those who fell in the costly wars. May the fallen of the wars of Israel be crowns of victory, and may their names be inscribed upon the hearts of Israel for all generations.
Thank you, Dr. Mismako. Please stay standing for the memory sign. To invite the new Israeli Defense Attaché, Yom to say a few words.
Hello everyone, my name is Amiram Yakira and I serve as Israeli Defense Attaché to Canada as of this past summer. What is Yom Hazikaron for Israelis? It is both very private and yet a collective day in which we pause to embrace the families of the fallen. We value the ultimate price paid for all of us to be able to live in a relative calm. We visit military cemeteries and pay our respect. We stand for 2 siren alarms piercing the silence, and we remembering our loved ones. This is a day that begins in the deepest sadness and ends in a great celebration of a successful outcome, the establishment of the State of Israel. What is Tzahal? Tzahal is the Israeli Defense Force. It is truly the people's army. In Israel, all citizens must join the military. We are all part of Tzahal, and Tzahal is part of us all. It is ours. Our sisters and brothers, fathers and mothers, sons and daughters. I want to share with you a personal story. I was born and raised in a kibbutz in the northern part of Israel, near the border with Syria and Lebanon. We were a small group of kids growing together. One of my friends, Yossi Levi, was the son of the kibbutz physician. When we grew, Yossi enlisted to the IDF, to a special unit, and later on became officer. Yossi was killed in Lebanon while leading his soldiers in an operational activity in 1996. He was a commander Wadi Tor. Leadership and charisma to lead his soldier wisely, with a perpetuate smile. He was sensitive and patient. Yossi was killed in Lebanon territory, few kilometers from our kibbutz, where we grew, when we played, when we were in your age. So he was killed while defending his home, literally. Shlomit, Yossi's sister, is married to a friend of mine from the squadron, and they have raised an amazing family. There are dozens of bereaved families in Canada. For them, as for David and Anat, Yossi's parents, there are no words that can comfort, and there is no cure for the pain. This is the price that goes hand in hand with our ongoing lives. Israel lives in a wonderful country, thriving, great economy, and welcoming, respecting rights. Definitely one of the best places in the world, and the best place in the Middle East, obviously. I am proud to be here today and to speak to you as a colonel in the Israeli Defense Force. We remember with deep sorrow and appreciation those who serve and sacrifice for a prosperous Israel, for a safe homeland, for all the Jews of the world. May they rest in peace. Thank you.
We would like to invite Mrs. Gordon to light the first candle of Yom Hazikaron in memory of all the fallen soldiers who sacrificed their lives for the state of Israel. Now we would like to invite Dr. Mitzmacher to light this candle in memory of his 566 soldiers whose place of burial is unknown.
The bodies of the dead soldiers Haidar Rodin and Oran Shul Zed El were kidnapped by Hamas during Operation Protective Edge on July 2014 and have not been returned for burial in Israel. We pray for these two soldiers whose burial place is unknown to be returned to their families so they can be buried in Israel.
To light the third candle, we would like to invite Miss Ellie Camille. This candle is dedicated to all the very young and brave sons and daughters who are willing to sacrifice themselves for the revival of the state of Israel.
Nissim Juni was born in 1938 in the old city of Jerusalem, where he lived his short life from beginning to end. He attended school until the War of Independence and the siege of the Jewish quarter stopped normal life. When the fighting began, he volunteered, like dozens of his small comrades, to defend his city and homeland. In the absence of telephones and wireless devices to connect to the defensive posts in the winding alleys, he was assigned to serve as a link between positions. This role required the responsibility and bravery of an adult who would run through hail of the bullets and rumble of the bombs. Nissim asked for a pistol in case an enemy should come in front of him, but his request was not granted. On May 27, 1948, when one of the positions fell into hands of the enemy, Nissim was seriously wounded. After a day of pain and anguish, his young body surrounded, and he died from his wounds. Little Nissim was buried in the old city. He was 10 years old at the time of his death, the youngest of Israel's fallen soldiers. His name was engraved on the monument erected in the military cemetery on Mount Herzl in memory of those who perished in the Battle of Jerusalem.
Since the establishment of the State of Israel, 3,146 civilians have been killed in hostilities by Arab terrorists. One of these victims was a talented and beautiful 19-year-old national service volunteer named Ori Ansbacher. Ori was abducted and murdered by a terrorist in Ein Yael. on February 7, 2019. Blessed be her memory. Maura Ruti will light a candle in her memory and in the memory of all the victims of the terrible hostilities committed by horrific murderers.
בואו נאמין בעולם טוב יותר, שאפשר לחיות בו יחד.
Let's believe in a better world where we can all live together.
נקבל זה את זה, נוותר, נתגבר, נחיה בשלום, לא עוד פחד.
Let's accept each other, compromise, and grow. Let's live in peace with no more fear.
בואו נאמין בשיתוף פעולה, נקשיב, נחשב ונעשה תפילה לשלום שבאנו.
Let's cooperate with each other, listen to one another, be considerate and pray for peace among us.
בואו נאמין בעולם טוב יותר של כבוד הדדי ושייכות.
Let's believe in a better world, one with respect for each other and one of unity.
שנקום את בוקר חדש ואחר, ונחיה בשלום, לא עוד פחד.
Let's wake up to a new and different day. Let's live in peace with no more fear.
בואו נאמין כי ביני לביני וביני לבין כל השאר צריך להקשיב לקול הפנימי, למה שחשוב ויקר.
Let's believe that within myself and between me and the rest of the world, there is only a need to listen to our inner voice for what is important and dear.
בואו נאמין בקירוב לבבות, שהאושר נמצא בידינו. יש מקום לכולם ונמשיך לקוות, שהטוב הוא כבר כאן ואצלנו.
Let's believe in bringing our hearts together and that spreading happiness is in our hands, that there is a place for everyone and that we will continue to hope and that goodness exists and is within us.
A prayer for peace, written by Shlomit Grosberg, age 13, Jerusalem.
What shall I ask of you, God? I have all that I need. There is nothing that I lack.
But only one thing will I ask, and not for me alone, but for many mothers, children, and fathers, and not only in this land, but also in foreign and enemy lands. I wish to ask you for peace.
Yes, it is peace that I want, and I know you will not refuse the single request of a young girl. You created the land of peace.
And in it, the city of peace, in which stood the temple of peace. But peace has not yet come. What shall I ask of you, God, since I have all that I need? I wish only for peace, only for peace, only peace.
Please rise.
Shut up.